Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, we're taking a look at Circle the Wagons, Second Shot, and the all-new Lone Cowboy Second Shot expansion. Let's get rolling. All right, let's get started here. So I've got a few things I want to cover, so I'm going to jump in right away. But don't forget, I've got chapters on this video, so you can skip ahead if you want to get to something specific. But this here is Circle the Wagons. This is a button-shy wallet game from 2017. And I do want to point out immediately that this was sent to me from the publisher as a part of promoting the upcoming Circle the Wagons Second Shot Kickstarter campaign, which goes live October 1st of 2024. There's a link in the description, and also the Lone Cowboy Second Shot solo expansion. So I'm going to cover all of these things in this video. But as always, if you want to find out more about promotional content and how I handle that, you can go to tablefor1.games and go to the For Publishers section, and you can see exactly what that agreement looks like. But the first thing I'm going to do is just focus on Circle the Wagons, a 2017 game. And so let's take these cards out, and I'm going to show you kind of what this is all about. Now, by default, Circle the Wagons is a two-player game. On its own, it does not have a solo mode. There is an expansion. I'll come back to that again in a minute. So there's 18 cards, as usual, with these button-shy wallet games. And on this face, they have 4 what are called territories. So each card has 4 territories on it. There are 6 territory types. So there are mountains, let me make sure I get this right. Deserts, prairies, forests, snow, and water. And then in addition to the 6 territory types, there are also 6 different items or symbols that can be on the card. So there's beer, cow, forts, guns, mines, and wagons. And so that's what's on the front of these 18 cards. On the back side are different scoring criteria. They're all unique. And so when you play this game, if you want to play, say, a 2-player game, which I'm going to go over very briefly because that's not really what I do on this channel, but it helps to inform the solo game. You take 3 of these at random. These are your scoring conditions for the end of the game. And then you take the other cards and you circle them around. Oh. There we go. Roughly a circle. And so the second player will say, we're starting with this card. So the first player has to make a choice. They either take this card into hand, or they work down the line along the circle and say they don't want this one, but they want this one. The first player takes this. Every card that they skipped, the second player gets it. And then it's the second player's turn. Maybe they take this one. The first player skips 2 cards, so second player gets these. And as you're taking these cards, you are building out your town with them. So one at a time, as you take the cards, you lay them down. And then your next card has to be either adjacent with 2 territories touching, and diagonals do not count, so it either needs to be like this, or you can cover up existing territories. And you can take your card and you can flip it upside down if you like, but you cannot go sideways. These are rectangles. They're not squares, so you can't go that way. And then so you build out your town in whatever manner that you want to, and then at the end of the game, you get points for these 3 scoring criteria, as well as your largest territory type of each type. So for example, this prairie is 3 pieces. This prairie is 1, so we'd score 3 points for that prairie. Here's 3 water, and so I just kind of laid these out at random, but you might want to try and lay out your cards so that, okay, now I've got 3 forests in a row here instead of having them all spread out where it's just 1, 1, or 1. So you're trying to maximize your points while also trying to maximize for these scoring criteria. So that's the idea behind the 2-player game. And again, that was Circle the Wagons from 2017. So the new game, Circle the Wagons Second Shot, which is the one that is about to be on Kickstarter, and there is a link in the description to that. It plays exactly the same way. So here's this deck. I don't have a wallet for it, but it's another 18 cards. There are no new territory types. From this side, it looks identical. There are no new icons, so it just adds some variety. But on the back side, it is 18 new scoring criteria. And what's interesting is there's a little icon in this bottom left corner. You're not going to see it real clearly here, but there's like 2 crossed pistols. So you can keep track of which ones come from the second shot deck and which come from the original deck. And so when you're playing, you can mix these all together and then just pick 18 random cards from your mix deck and play the game with those. So it can definitely give you some variety that way. And then if you don't have Circle the Wagons, you can buy Circle the Wagons Second Shot and play it by itself. So it's a standalone game as well. And so they work identically. It's just 2 separate decks that you can commingle if you want. I'm just playing with these cards here. The other thing I wanted to tell you about was Newfangled mode, or the Newfangled variant, which I think is really cool. So this is, you take both decks, the Circle the Wagons and Circle the Wagons Second Shot, and you mix them together, and then you take 18 random cards, and you play a round of Circle the Wagons as I've previously described. But at the end of that round, you only score from these backside, from these scoring criteria. You don't score for the territories yet. Then you leave your town as it is on the table. You take the second deck of mixed 18 cards, reveal 3 more scoring criteria, play a second round building upon the map from the first round. And then at the end of round 2, you've got like this one big mega map, and you'll have 3 more scoring criteria for that. And then you score the territories at the end off that final mega town. So I think that is super cool. So that is the Newfangled variant, and I really like that. I would not mind giving that a try with the solo mode. So speaking of, let's talk about the solo mode. So for the original game, for the original Circle of Wagons, there was an expansion called Lone Cowboy, and it had 6 cards in it. And then there was another expansion that came later called Lone Cowboy Rides Again. That was 3 more cards for a total of 9 cards. And in this new Kickstarter for Circle the Wagons Second Shot, there is a second deck of those. So this is Lone Cowboy Second Shot, and that's what I've got here. And the way this works is each one of these will tell you to take 2 specific scoring cards out of the main deck. So this one's called Supply Run, and I need to find Beer on the Wall and General Store. So let me find those 2. There's Beer on the Wall and there's General Store. Okay, and with the remaining 16 cards and this rules card, I'm going to play against the solo opponent. So the Lone Cowboy expansion for Circle the Wagons works exactly the same way. I don't have that one, but it does reference specific cards from the deck. So I can only play solo mode with the second Circle the Wagons Second Shot. But you could, in theory, if you had all of this stuff, you could mix these together, draw one at random, take the scoring cards you need, and then you can play with random cards from the mixed decks if that's what you wanted to do, and that would work perfectly fine. And I think I really enjoy this game. This is just me personally. I think I'm going to go out and personally get the Lone Cowboy and Lone Cowboy Rides Again expansions for the original Circle the Wagons. So then I've got like all the pieces, and then I think I'm going to try and play this Newfangled mode solo using all the cards. I think that's going to be wild. I don't fully know what to expect, but I think it'll be fun. So, but that's just me. So I'm going to play the solo game right now with these cards. Let me explain what these say. So Beer on the Wall says, choose 1 row, 2 points per beer in that row. So that's 1 scoring criteria that applies to me only. The solo opponent has their own sort of scoring criteria, so we'll get to that. And then this one, General Store, says 1 point per different symbol adjacent to a fort, excluding other fort symbols. Evaluate each fort separately this way. So you just want to put down forts, these, and for each fort, you just look at how many different symbols are around it. So if I, for example, had that fort there, and it looked like this, it would be worth 2 points. 1 for being near a wagon, 1 for being near a gun. The second gun and the second wagon don't score any points. So you kind of would rather, maybe place something like that. Now you've got a wagon, a gun, and a beer. That's 3 points. And having 2 forts next to each other, another fort does not count as a point. So those are the scoring criteria that I am working towards. And I'm going to tell you how the AI opponent scores at the end. But I'm going to start by shuffling these up, and I'm going to circle 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm so bad at circles. 6, 7, 8. Put the rest of the deck in the middle, and I, as the player, go first. Oh, that's a little wonky, huh? I can fix that. It can be fixed. Okay, so we're going to start here at the top, and I'm going to decide if I either want to take this card or if I want to start skipping cards. And as usual, if I skip cards, anything I skip goes to my opponent. And while I'll get into the scoring criteria at the end, I will mention, just so you understand the strategy a little bit, the opponent scores 2 points per beer and 2 points per fort in their deck at the end. So I don't want them to get any beer or forts if I can avoid it. So I think I'll start by taking this card and place it here. That's mine. And now when the AI opponent goes, they're going to evaluate the next card. And if it has an exact match of both territory and symbol of any of the territory symbol combinations on this card, they take them both. And if they don't, they will skip and try again. They'll skip up to 2 cards. And if they never meet the criteria, they'll just go back, take the first one without taking the middle card. So, for example, in this case, there's a forest with a wagon and a forest with a wagon. So they're just going to take this card and take this one. And we're just going to make a deck for them. Their placement doesn't matter. And now it goes to me. And now these have a couple of beers, which are good. And then I've got a fort here. It's next to 2 cows. I'd rather try and have different symbols around it. So I think I will take this. And I'll use the beer to cover up one of those cows. My territories aren't looking great because I've got things at diagonals. They're not really making continuous zones. But now the opponent goes, and there is a gun on a prairie and a gun on a prairie, so they're going to take both of these cards. Now it's back to me, and I do want to get one row with a lot of beers, and this one has 2 beers, so I think I'll take this card again. I'm not going to skip. I'm going to place it here, I think. What other options do I have? Yeah, because I mean, at least that puts 2 water together. It starts to build some sort of territory. And boy, what angle am I doing this at? Okay, so back to our opponent again. And again, there's a desert with a gun and a desert with a gun. So they're just going to take the first card and then the top card from that deck. They're doing that a lot, and that is not great. Okay, and now looking at these next 2 cards, this one doesn't have any beer or any forts, and so if I were to take this one, it would just be to build out some of these different territory types. But this one's got a fort, and I might be able to use that to get a number of extra points. So let me take this one, and I think I'm going to place it here. So I put these 2 deserts together, and then I've got a fort next to a gun and next to a wagon. I'll see if I can maybe cover that wagon and put something else up there so we get more points. The one that I skipped goes to the opponent, and so I took the last turn of round 1. So now for round 2, we take whatever cards remain and make the best circle we can out of them. Oof, they got a lot of cards. And the AI opponent goes first. And in the second round, this card will tell you a different way that they draft, because there are no longer any cards in the middle that they are comparing to. So the second round draft for this opponent, which is the supply run, is skip up to 1 card to a card with any beers and or forts. This one has beer and a fort, so they're just going to take it. So looking ahead a little bit, let's say that I take this card. The AI on the next turn will look at this one and they'll skip, because this one has no beer, no forts. They'll skip this one to take this one with a beer, and I'll gain this one too. So with that knowledge, and then it'll be my turn, so I can take this one. So like kind of planning ahead a little bit, I know I'm going to gain this, and then this, and then this. So I can plan a little bit where I want to place those cards. So I'm not sure if this is optimal, but it at least seems good. I'm going to take this card, and I'm going to use it here. I'm going to cover up some of these spaces. So now this mountain will be next to this mountain, this prairie will be next to this prairie, and I've got another fort here to work with that I can try and surround, even though it's got 3 wagons around it. So it's only worth 1 point right now, but I can try and change some of that up maybe. So as I mentioned, the AI opponent goes next. This is the next card on offer, but they will skip it to take one with beer. So they will do that, which means I get this one and I place it immediately. And whenever cards are skipped, if there were, say, more than one skipped, you place them in order, one at a time. So you take the first and you place it, take the next and you place it, and you keep going until they've all been placed. And so I think I'm going to take this and place it here. So I'll extend that mountain range a little bit, and it gets one more symbol around that fort. And then I'll take this card for my turn, and I'll place it here, which will make this desert a little bit bigger and place one more symbol near that fort there. So that's the end of the game. Let's go ahead and add up the score. So we'll start with the different territories. So we'll find my largest desert, and that's this 1, 2, 3 territory. So that's 3 points. My largest forest is only 1. I've got a 1 and a 1 and a 1, so that gets me up to 4 points. The largest snow, it's also going to be a 1. I've got 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there, so that gets me to 5. Largest mountains will be these 3, 6, 7, 8. The largest plains are these 2, that's 9, 10. And the largest water is just going to be 2. I've got 2 here, and I've got 2 here. So that gets me up to 12, which is not outstanding. But now we'll go ahead and score these 2 as well. So I pick one row and score 2 points for each beer in that row. And that's going to have to be this row here. So 2, 4, 6. So that gets me up to 18. And then we score the fort. So again, each fort, it's 1 point for each unique symbol around it. So this one has 1, 2, 3 unique symbols. This one has 1. And this one has 1, 2, 3. So that's 7 points total, which I think is a final score of 25, which is really, really bad. This is a little embarrassing. So now we score the AI. This is a bigger deck. And the first thing you do is you go through each of their cards, and the more territories that match on any single card, the more points they get. So this one has two of the snows. So this one is worth 2 points. This one has 3 waters, so it's worth 3 points. These are all unique. The most it has of any one territory is 1, so it's 1 point. So again, we're up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I think I've nearly lost already. And then we're going to go back through these 2 points for each beer and 2 points for each fort. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 more points. I'm not going to do the final math on that because it's not going to be favorable. But don't let this poor performance scare you away. I have won the game, and it's not necessarily terribly difficult. I just played really poorly. But then they do also give you in the rule book a little chart. So, this scoring piece always stays the same, depending on what your scenario is. It tells you how many points. But the territories, I said there's 2 snows. This one's worth 2. This one has 3 waters, so it's worth 3. These are all unique. It's worth 1. There is a little chart in the rule book that changes how many points each of these are worth. Each of these cases to make it either a little bit easier or a little bit harder. So you can simplify it if you're having a hard time, or you can raise the difficulty level if you need a little bit more of a challenge. So that is Circle the Wagons' second shot and sort of how it works. So again, just one more time to recap. Circle the Wagons came out in 2017, and there were 18 cards. It was a 2-player game. Then there was Circle the Wagons Lone Cowboy and Lone Cowboy Rides Again, which added solo deck of 6 cards and 3 cards respectively for a total of 9. And so you use those decks to play Circle the Wagons solo. And the current game, which I just played, was Circle the Wagons Second Shot, which is exactly the same as Circle the Wagons. It's just a new set of cards and scoring criteria. So again, that's going to crowdfunding October 1st of 2024. And then there's also an expansion to that called Lone Cowboy Second Shot, and that adds 9 more of these solo cards, which I just demonstrated here. And they work with the Circle the Wagon Second Shot deck. And again, the only reason that they're deck specific is because each one of these will tell you, okay, grab these 2 scoring conditions from this deck. But otherwise, if you have all 4 of those things, you can, in theory, mix these together and play all sorts of different ways. But that's what is available here. Oh, and that's what I wanted to point out as well. Just as I said, on the back of these second shot cards, there's a little symbol in the bottom left of these crossed pistols, so you know which deck it came from. Same thing on these Lone Cowboy second shot cards right here. In the top, there's again a little crossed pistol symbol on each of these, so you know which deck it came from if you want to keep them separate. And then I just want to emphasize once again, everything you saw here was provided to me promotionally by Button Shy Games, but I'm only playing it because I personally like it, and I think I'm going to go personally back at least the original Circle the Wagons Lone Cowboy expansion because I would like to have that as well. And I don't know if it's going to be included in this Kickstarter or not, but if it's not, I'll just go to Button Shy and order it because the prices on this stuff are pretty reasonable. So that's that's my opinion and personal endorsement. But I think I've talked about it long enough. So this has been Table for One, and this is everything Circle the Wagons. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did, and I will see you in the next video.